Well, hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes with special super guest returning again.
Marley Loves Film. Glad to be back on the Old Man Orange podcast, Spencer.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be pinch hitting because Ryan is on maternity leave, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's paternity leave.
Oh yeah, paternity. Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's like a junior thing like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But yeah, Ryan's out. He's got a baby boy that just came about, probably by the time this episode's up, 3 weeks ago, I want to say. But yeah, for the moment, this is kind of what I was like. I'm going to carry on the Old Man Orange. I'm going to grab a different guest about every single week or so, and we're going to go back in time and do this little thing I call the Vintage Cinema Review, where we talk really old movies, movies that your grandpappy, who probably has passed away by this point, would have been proud of you talking about, kind of like that kind of era stuff that makes you feel like, in the Leonard Maltin book of classic cinema, golden age stuff, So of course I was like, well, I'm gonna call it to Marley because Marley's been on the Old Man Orange. I think literally since maybe single digits.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I almost want to say since like the earliest days.
Since the earliest days when we were recording like in Ryan's room with the Zoom H2N sitting on a stool.
I still have that Zoom mic for if ever need to like do a little impromptu in-person podcast, Except for nowadays, I kind of feel like it's amazing mic. I mean, that's why I like this mic right here is actually the Zoom like plug-in XLR mic because I just like the Zoom one so much. But that Zoom one, it's so amazing. It's just the only downfall now is you kind of want to have your video to go along with it. So you got to, I'll plug that thing down and then you just put your cell phones up and then you kind of have literally a portable video studio.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But Marley, how's everything going on your end over there? Podcast, talking old movies in a sense, new movies.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty great. It's really hot here in California, as that's why we're recording this like pretty late in the day, just so we don't have to deal with the heat wave that we're going through right now. But just podcasting over at the Real Livers podcast, and talking cinema over there as well.
Oh, perfect. Well, I know this is going to be one of those podcasts by the time we're all said and done. It's like we'll probably end up sweating so much that we'll have to take a shower afterwards. It was like you're at the boxing gym or something like that. It's like, what were you guys doing? Oh, we were just talking old movies and building up a big old sweat there.
Yeah, well, I'm complaining right now, but all my friends over in New York and like the East Coast, they're probably just like, oh, those amateurs over there in California, you used to your 60-degree weather.
I know it all just depends on what part you're at, you know what I mean, but yeah, it's not so bad yet, I guess. It's one of those kind that just got picked that right time, but it's almost sort of fitting for some of the scenes in this movie we decided to talk about this time. We're going back in time to 1959 for good old North by Northwest, Alfred Hitchcock classic. One of those ones that I know I've seen this like when I was like a wee young lad way back in the 90s or something like that. But it was almost been so long that it was practically fresh again. It was definitely like one of those ones. Like you remember like the two major things. It's like I remember the plane crash over the over the fields in Bakersfield. I've too many times. And the Mount Rushmore scenes and so on. But like other than that, though, it's like everything else was like it was all a brand new movie by this point.
Yeah, this was a brand new movie for me as well. Like I think I do remember watching my parents watch this movie on TCM like back in the day, and I was just like, "Who's this? Who's the guy that was in Singing in the Rain?" and I just walk off to go play like my video games, play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that. But I really like this movie. I think this movie is. I can see why people say that this is Hitchcock's best because it definitely feels kind of like Christopher Nolan has always wanted to make a James Bond movie, right? And he did that with Tenet. This kind of feels like Hitchcock. Hey, I never got a chance to make a James Bond movie, so I'm just going to do my own thing here. You see what I'm saying?
Well, because you say that, actually it's the other way around is that this movie is what inspired the James Bond style of filmmaking. Is because when they were making Dr. No, they're like, well, let's give it a North by Northwest feel. Like that was kind of like the way that they were kind of piecing it together. So this almost is technically kind of like the proto James Bond formula. You know, there is that one early Casino Royale one, and not the Casino Royale like the spoof one. I mean, like it's like it's like right before this. I think it's 58. I could be kind of wrong. It's got Barry. What's his name? It's like a black and white American-made TV movie of Casino Royale where it's Jimmy Bond going in.
Jimmy Bond.
Old Jimmy Bond, and just like a small adaptation, of Casino Royale and whatnot. But yeah, North by Northwest is one of those ones like, if you really like 007 movies, this movie's kind of like in that wheelhouse, especially if you like the old school ones, like the Sean Connery era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I especially like just like the Cary Grant's performance in this, because he plays like this very ordinary guy that just gets thrown into like this really awkward and befuddling situation, and he's just kind of like playing off of that, and I think he plays it pretty well as just kind of like I like it when famous people play ordinary people. Just because it's just because like, hey, they're just like us. They're just like us. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know what it reminded me of as I was watching it? I was like, oh, you know what it's kind of like? It's also like a proto Coen Brothers kind of style of movie where, when I always think of Coen Brothers movies, I always think it's like regular, ordinary people thrown into extreme circumstances. Like that's a lot of times what a lot of those ones are, and that's totally what this movie is. It's like you got Cary Grant. He's this like salesman guy who gets misidentified like in a restaurant and whatnot for this other dude. And then next thing you know, he's thrown in this huge espionage. All these guys are trying to kill him. He's getting framed for murder and stuff like that. And he's just really a regular sales guy who's just trying to get out of it. But then next thing you know, he's like, you know what? I'm here already. Let's just keep going. Let's see where this leads.
Yeah. I just like that opening sequence where they kidnap him like at and they like drunk him. I don't know. I just kind of like after that, like him driving like that car. It's such a cool
drunk driving.
Yeah, drunk driving.
But trying to save his life. Yeah, it's like one of those ones where it's just like, I just got to keep this together. They just shoved an entire bourbon bottle down my throat.
Right. It's such cool filming techniques too. Like I just kind of like what it possibly could be like when you're driving under the influence. Not that we know what that's like, but it's just like, I don't know. I just thought that part was really cool. So
yeah, no, that's a really cool scene. I mean, that's always the one neat thing you do get with Alfred Hitchcock movies is that like he was always testing so many new ways to shoot movies, different special effects, different kind of like techniques and art effects and so on like that. And yeah, it's just like each one is just like a new learning experience. I mean, like for the longest while, like those Alfred Hitchcock movies seem to be like the big ones that like were always held at high praise in like film schools. And I kind of always wonder if they still do, or if it's like as time has gone on, does that get kind of put a little bit farther on the back burner? I mean, I always kind of I don't hear as many people talking about Alfred Hitchcock's movies as I did say 20 years ago.
Yeah, Psycho I think is still probably his best one, but after watching North by Northwest, I think this one is definitely underrated. But yeah, I think this is kind of like I've seen a lot of people like say that Hitchcock kind of has like a formula to his movies, kind of like Steven Spielberg. How when you watch a Steven Spielberg film, you know that this is a Steven Spielberg film. Same goes for Alfred Hitchcock. When watching North by Northwest, I sort of got that, but I sort of, like you said, kind of like this film kind of like allowed Hitchcock to kind of like go outside of his comfort zone, but also kind of like still play within his playground. So.
Oh yeah, I think most definitely. The other thing interesting too that like in watching this is how much of a movie this is just a straight comedy too. There's a lot of funny bits in here and like really witty dialogue that I was not necessarily expecting as much. I was expecting to be like a little bit more serious thriller, and it's like no, it's like half comedy.
Well, I think the comedy gets thrown in there, especially just because it's like it's an ordinary guy going through these extraordinary events, and like if you and I were going through stuff like that, I think we would chuckle here and there because it's like this, like what are you talking about? I'm not this person. I'm like, it's like why are you so convinced on like trying to kill me? I'm not who you say I am. It's just like it's so I kind of appreciated like the comedy that they threw in there as well.
No, yeah, I liked it a lot too. I was like, oh, it's like one, it was really good comedy, and it was perfectly timed. It was never too much there, but it felt like, hey, here's this guy, and he's just kind of cracking jokes because it really is silly. These guys just do not get it, like that. Hey, I'm not the guy, you know what I mean? And as he keeps going through, there's even like that part where like he finally finds the guy that he's mistaken for his like hotel room, and of course nobody's ever seen him. Nobody's seen the other guy, this whole time. And he's looking in the closet, and someone's like, no, the suits fit me. No, like how am I even this guy? Like, look at nothing here is like fits my description.
Yeah, I kind of had a interesting theory about that when I was watching this, because I always like to kind of think about movies this way, because like this movie is about like who's trying to pull up who Cary Grant actually plays in that.
His character's name.
Roger Thornhill plays Roger Thornhill, and the guy that they're going after is this Russian spy, I believe.
Yeah, it's Russian, but they have no accent, so that kind of threw me off too. Like the whole time, it's like,
well, that's the '50s. It's the '50s. Everyone talks, especially for American movies. Everyone talks the one language. It's not. This isn't 2024, Spencer. So
no. Like, well, that's like I always think of Where Eagles Dare and stuff, and that, even though it's an amazing World War II action film and whatnot, but like there's a part with like Clint Eastwood and so on, and it's like they're in this like Nazi bar and whatnot, and it's just like, yeah, I'm Clint Eastwood, and I'm putting on my German accent right now, as you can well tell. And it's just like
he's doing a Jedi mind trick where he's just like, I am speaking in a German accent, and it's just
yeah. And it's one of those goofy things where, it throws you off because you're like, are they speaking German right now, or what's going on? Is everybody American? It's kind of like remember I felt the same way when what was that Tom Cruise one, Valkyrie? Because I was like, Tom Cruise isn't using any accent. Is he supposed to be German? Is he not German? Like, is he undercover? Is he, you know what I mean? There was like so many questions when I was initially watching that movie.
Spencer, that's a really weird poll, but I haven't heard anyone talk about Valkyrie in a really long time. But didn't that movie start out with like German accents and then it kind of like blended into English? Just because
Tom Cruise didn't have it ever. So,
well, yeah, of course. I don't think Tom Cruise is German.
Tom Cruise tried an accent in 2 films and probably his entire life, and he got so much shit for far and away. For giving it the old Irish accent as I go on the character here. I'm Tom Cruise and I'm going across country to America.
He's like, oh, you're just getting Mission Impossible movies from now on.
He's like,
and I'm not doing an accent in those.
I did the character thing in there, and you guys called me the Lucky Charms guy, so just forget about it.
The Lucky Charms. That's like a double diss. It's like you have a bad accent. Also, you're short too.
Who cares? That's a great movie. You know what I mean? Funny accent aside, and even though it doesn't bother me, I don't know.
I don't think I've seen it.
Have you never seen? Well, we need to put that on the list.
Yeah, we need to.
You're gonna like this one. It's a great movie.
Maybe like a film in 40s or something like that. Or get.
Yeah. We'll have to come back to that. But yeah, in North by Northwest, you have these guys who are kind of like Russian spies, but they all speak like Eastern American English, where it still has that like slight British accent to it, because we're in 1959 here.
Yeah,
it's that kind where it still sort of throws you off. You're like, I wish there was a little bit of accent just to let me know, because sometimes I just always feels like, are these just a bunch of American guys that are all just like in on this con here and so on like that? Like who's supposed to be or is it like one of those random countries like they'll make in certain movies where it like doesn't actually exist? Like Iron Eagle has or something like that, where it's like, well, we don't want to offend any Middle Eastern country, so we'll just make up our own in between.
Or you could just be like Shailene Woodley from Ferrari, just have her accent, just a really bad Italian accent, just thrown in there. I don't. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't, but and I'll say accent-wise, I will take a really bad accent over no accent.
Well, depending on what the accent is, because I don't want it to be perceived as racist or anything. Like
yeah. Maybe not like extremely bad, but I mean, like maybe like it could pull off in a
no
cartoon.
Asian accents, no Asian accents, because I think we kind of hit the floor with that one.
Well, if we watch enough 50s movies, we'll find a bunch of those in there.
Oh yes. Sometimes
that was a time period where every British person played an Asian guy at some point.
Yeah, or even just like an Asian doing a really bad Asian accent, because the director was white and was just like, "Hey, sound more like yourself." It was like, "But I am."
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
But yeah. Yeah, North by Northwest. The accents aren't there, so you're getting everything in the 1950s sort of style accent. That mid-Atlantic accent. That you would hear there and there, and so on, as we do our crisscross journey by train all across the U.S. on the North by Northwest route.
Yeah, I love that this this movie is like a globetrotting like adventure on a train, just because I love movies that are based along that, just because
I love trains too. I don't know what it is. When I see a train in a movie, it just makes me that much more excited. If you combine train and snow together, oh man.
Because so much stuff can go on, like in train scenes. Like you got like the cabin car, you can like people having sex, which happens in this movie.
Yeah,
he was like, Cary Grant was basically in like one scene was just like, "No, what? I'm getting chased by everyone here. I'm just gonna get one off." Like the hot blonde, might as well
on a train. Which what I was thinking of as the Eve, who's the blonde spy lady that he meets on the train. I'm like, oh, you know what? I kind of forgot about this, but I think on Metal Gear Solid 3, that's who Eve's based off of. Kind of her look and feel is from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because they even bring it up in the codec, at some point with the saved lady who likes to tell you about all the movies while you're sitting in the jungle eating the snake. You're like, yeah, you know what? You can bring this up to me much later. I think it's cool as the gamer, but like I just picture Snake sitting here like, oh, this lazy here she goes again with another 20-minute ramble about the movie she just saw last week.
I can actually see. I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 3 in a really long time, but I can actually see Kojima actually like throwing in a North by Northwest reference in there, because that seems like right up his alley right now.
Yeah,
especially
I
right now.
To say it is one of the codec scenes. The lady mentions North by Northwest as one of the films.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Eve, the character in that game, has got to be somewhat based off it. I'm like, because it's like they almost look like, oh, that look of her in this. She's an undercover spy. Almost has that like double agent sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Going on. You're not sure if you can trust her or not.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the more interesting things that I liked about her character, just because she wasn't like the typical kind of like blonde, like blonde bimbo from like a Hitchcock film. Like there's something more to her. Like obviously she was a double agent, but like it's real funny. Like towards the end of this movie, that her character just takes a dramatic shift, and she turns into like a typical manic pixie dream girl, where it's just like she's just screaming and yelling like, "Save me, Richard!" as they're like climbing, as holding off on Mount Rushmore. As it's kind of funny how dramatic her character just changes. So.
Well, when you're falling off the face of a president, it gets a little serious.
Yeah, just a little serious too. But it's just like there was so much, like she's kind of like a strong character at that point, and to have her just kind of like, it's like I can't do anything to help myself except for Richard saving me. It's just it seemed a little bit weird to me, but.
Yeah, I mean, she already just, shot Cary Grant in, like, the restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that long ago.
Technically not shot with blanks,
but still, everybody in that restaurant thought that, like, he was just, like, shot by this lady. Like, what did he do to her?
Right. They're like, I just wanted to see someone, like, off to the side that the camera pans, like, to the right, and someone just says, like, "Check, please."
Yeah, exactly. Like, or one of those ones that you can have the lady go like, "I'll have what she's having."
Yeah. Yes. And I'm not. Did you watch any of the special features
I did. I watched because I pulled out because I had this. This is one of the main reasons I also wanted to do this North by Northwest one is because like it felt like probably 2 years ago or so I bought this big fat Blu-ray box set off Amazon on one of their Prime days or something like that. Where it was like $50 or something, and I mean a couple years ago.
Thank you, Bezos.
Yeah, it was just like, here you go. Here's like 25 Alfred Hitchcock movies plus some great episodes of the TV show and a bunch of a couple of, I think it's like radio stuff in there and so on. And so I was like, yeah, I want this set. I'm going to sit down and watch through all these movies I haven't watched in a good long time, and a bunch of them I haven't seen in the first place. So I watched the behind the scenes. It was like 45-minute one they had on there. There was a couple other ones too, but the main documentary. And it was really cool. Did you watch that at all? I don't know if you found that. Nowadays, people load up that stuff on YouTube all the time, so it's kind of nice.
It's funny that you say that because that's exactly what I did. I just loaded it up on YouTube and just watched. I don't know what I watched that was probably on the DVD, but one
did it have
funny
Eva
thing.
Marie Saint narrating the whole thing?
I don't think I watched that one. I watched the trailer because Alfred Hitchcock always has like really amazing trailers for his movies where it's just him just talking to a camera. Hey guys, I made a movie. You should watch it. I love
how Alfred Hitchcock talks so slow because every single time I've always seen him in an interview, I'm like, how does this man direct any movie? Because he's always like, today on my new motion picture, we are going to go on a cross-country trip. He's like, why is he talking so damn slow?
Well, he's like a typical YouTuber now. Like back in the day, that's what probably YouTubers would be like back in the day, because he's basically like building for tension and stuff like that. He was the original YouTuber. He
really was. Like, dude, he would have, guys, because he did all those like gimmicky stuff like in the theaters. Like, I remember my dad would tell me about. I can't remember which movie it was, but they would give out these like glow in the dark like it was like a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And as the movie went on, you were supposed to put a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the scene to like see like, does the character die or do they stay alive here? And like all this stuff. And who knows if it actually did with like change or it'd be like, no, you're getting the movie, like, you know what I mean? But we'll make you feel like you did something to affect it.
Yeah. I always appreciated how interactive he was, like with his fans and like his audience, and you could really tell that he loves cinema too, because it's like, don't watch this in the theater, or don't watch this on Netflix. Watch this in the theater if you can. That wasn't me. I watched it on Tubi, but that's where it was available. Sorry, Alfred. I know you're rolling over in your grave right now, but
Tubi, out of all the places Marley could have watched this.
Hey, if his estate is still getting money off of this movie, they somehow got some royalties from it. So
technically, Tubi probably pays out more than if you watch it off anything else other than buying it.
Yeah, exactly. But Tubi's a great platform. Everyone should go check out Tubi.
Well, the upside is it mostly like when you're looking for a movie and you can't find it anywhere else. I bet you Tubi might have it.
Yeah.
Even YouTube besides is like, well, YouTube doesn't even have it, but guess what? Tubi has it.
Yep. YouTubi.
YouTubi, yeah.
I like how this is just become like a Tubi ad. So Tubi, pay us right now.
Exactly. I feel bad because I've never technically watched Tubi. I always went on there with like commercials. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna find my way around this somehow, somewhere, And then a lot of times I'll do something stupid, like, well, I bought the $10 Blu-ray because I didn't want to watch a commercial, so I spent $10 instead, and I'm not too sure if I'm gonna want this movie at the end of the day, but it's going in the collection.
Well, at least it's free. It's not like Netflix where you have to still pay for ads.
yeah, exactly, those kind of things there. So, but North by Northwest, it does have some good special. That's like the nice thing about all the Alfred Hitchcock movies is like people have really put together nice special features on every single one of those films, and so on, and cool behind the scenes. Even speaking of like going back to like that gunshot, where Eve shoots Cary Grant in the diner there. There's a kid in the background. It shows in the special features that like he right before she does it, he goes to like cover his ears. Like he's like, oh, he's done this take a handful of times and
he's preparing.
Of it. Yeah,
that was the one special. Oh, that was the one special feature that I watched, where I saw the kid like plugging his ears. So
Plug in his ears, be like, maybe he's in it. Maybe he's part of the CIA too.
yeah, I think he's just a kid, and he just knows he just knows scene structure at this point.
Yeah,
he's gonna be a star who is that kid? We need to look that up.
That kid's like, they're not paying me enough here to like blow my ears out at 5.
Right. Watch, that kid was Tom Cruise back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. He's learning his accents.
He's
learning how not to do accents.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
he's like, if only I was on some other film, I would probably be better at accents.
Yeah, exactly. But no, here we are in the 50s, and we're not gonna do any of that. But yeah, no, the scenes are all cool. I mean, like, even just like I love the stuff on the train. That train's just, especially like that 50s design of trains, like 40s, 50s, like they're just so cool looking at that era.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just makes you want to get on one and go, man, I want to travel across, the U.S., check out all kinds of stuff like that. Stupid.
Yeah, I think my favorite scene in this movie is mainly, it kind of goes back to like how we were saying like this movie is very funny. Is the auction scene where it's such a funny scene because it's Cary Grant kind of like going all into this role and understands like who these people really think he is, and he's just kind of playing off that, and just like, I don't know, I just like him kind of like Cary Grant's just like 13, and they're like 1300. Like,
he's like, no, $13.
Yeah,
it's a piece of shit you got up there.
Just calling them out for like for their garbage, but I just love it. So
well, and I almost want to say that scene's still before Cary Grant learns that like that CIA FBI guy comes up to him and is like, you know what? So this is how I'm telling you how it goes down. We've been following you the whole way through. Sorry to put you through this, but this is how it is. You're now trapped in this kind of like a scheme, and you've just been the patsy the whole time. And that's okay. Eve's on our side, so I know you're pretty pissed at her the other day, but it's all okay. It's it's an FBI thing. Because I almost want to say that auction scene's right before then, where he's just in there and he's just jerking those guys around. Because at this point he's just like, I don't care. I was just framed for murder not that long ago.
Yeah, it's I just like his progression throughout this entire movie, and it kind of makes me think like how I don't know if this is Alfred Hitchcock's like intention like with this movie, because I know he was just trying to make like a good movie, but it makes you kind of think like this movie is kind of like a perfect metaphor for being an actor, on how when you start out you kind of don't really know who this character is, but as like the movie goes forward, like you see like Richard kind of buying into who this guy is and who this guy probably is, and just kind of like, and also kind of like throwing in kind of like some parts of himself, like the scene where he's in Eve's room and he's gonna take like a cold shower. He's whistling the Singing in the Rain like song. I thought that was like a nice little touch that probably Cary Grant like improv'd to kind of like help out like the character a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that by this point he's like, okay, like I'm in here now. I'm gonna make it feel like I'm taking the shower, but I'm gonna see what she's up to.
Mm-hmm.
As she kind of steps out and whatnot. No, it has all kinds of stuff that's like that. Where it's what I kind of like about it is like his character. He kind of gets thrown in there, and at first he's like trying to like get out of it and trying to explain to everybody. But he kind of accepts it. Like once he goes, okay, the police just think I'm a drunk lunatic. I mean, my own mother, who's also like a comedic character in this whole thing, doesn't even believe me on any of these things here.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody's helped me out. So you know what? I'm just gonna go with it. I think that's kind of the thing I like about the character. Is at some point he just goes, you know what? Okay, if this is how it is, this is how it is. Whatever. You know what I mean? I was just a sales guy. Had 2 ex-wives, and couple martinis here and there, and now it's see my life's all turned on an edge.
Yeah, and like he was just living like an ordinary life, and then all of a sudden he was able to like travel to like multiple places, get like the girl of his dreams, and just like I guess like taking a few risks here and there like will actually like turn out pretty good for you.
You know what's weird? When you just described it that way, you know what it sounded like? Actually, it sounded like Total Recall almost.
Yes.
Because it sounded like it was one of those ones where he was just a normal, ordinary guy, and then he kind of like got put into this like program of some kind, and in this one, misidentified as the wrong guy, and now he's on this like adventure that like, is it real? Is it not real? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess it could technically kind of be like that too. So I haven't seen Total Recall in like a really long time. That's something that I need to rewatch. I think it's just because I was burnt by the remake, Colin Farrell remake, which it's not good. People shouldn't check that one out. People should watch North by Northwest instead. So
well, like Total Recall, the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, that's like top 3 favorite movies of mine. Like it's like up there that high, for sure. Even though I sometimes toss around what's my favorite of the Arnolds, but it's definitely one of those ones I love a lot. So. Yeah,
I remember liking it a lot, like back in the day. It's just like it's one of those things where I need to rewatch, and that's like, kind of like goes back to like what you were saying at the beginning of this podcast. It's like when you, like you said, you've seen like this film before, but like when you're like really young, like I've always kind of like believed like if you see something like when you're young, did you actually really see it? And it's kind of, I think we kind of like we fall into this camp, both of us, just because. Like, I don't remember this movie, and it was like, I love that this, like, watching this was like watching it for the first time, even though we both watched it in different circumstances. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, it's like one of those ones too, especially nowadays. I notice even with just movies, it's like there'll be a lot of movies that like maybe I watched a bunch, like say around like high school and then like even early college, but then I haven't watched them in like 10 or 15 years. And you go back and watch those movies, even though you saw them so many times, it's like, once again, it's like, well, it's been like 10 to 15 years since I last saw this movie, and now it's almost fresh again. You know what I mean? So there is something kind of about that, like when it's been a while. But yeah, especially with this one, as I said, I know I've seen bits and pieces of it for sure off TV, but sometimes when you watch things off TV, you're watching it in parts anyways. You're not getting the full experience. And so on.
Well, now I'm kind of wondering, like, for movies today, like Deadpool, Wolverine, like when that movie will actually reach like the level of like nostalgia or what we just talked about for North by Northwest. When Deadpool, Wolverine will get something like that. I want to see like Gen Alpha and like 100 years, like I remember watching this at the Cineplex. And they're like, Daddy, what's the Cineplex? I watch movies projected into my brain.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be like that too. It's not that far off that the old cinemas is not gonna be there, at least not the same way as we want it to be. It is kind of it's becoming the old art. It's like theater, you know what I mean? Like it will still be there, but it's definitely like it's like an archaic form of storytelling, which is it is what it is. But at least we have all these 100+ years of cinema that we can go back to. And like it's like that point where you're like, you know what? There's more movies that I don't think I'll be able to catch up on all of them before the time I die, and that's without even watching new ones.
Yeah. It's that kind of, whenever I think about that, it always gives me like tons of anxiety for someone that really likes to like complete everything. So yeah, there's so many TV shows that I need to get caught up on. It's just, I don't know. Like I try with a few shows, but I can't like do everything. So
that's why I literally about a couple of years ago, I just kind of generally did the thing where I go, I just don't watch TV. And it's like one of those ones I just came to the conclusion, I'm like, I only have time for movies, so I just stick to what I really like, and I really like movies. If there's one TV show that maybe like something that very special, like it was like I watched that X-Men '97 one. There's a new Batman one coming out later this year. Like I'll watch that. But for the most part, I just kind of go, I don't watch TV. I don't. You know what I mean? There's enough movies that are going to occupy me, both new and old. That that's what I'm going to be into.
Yeah,
you got to almost pick and choose your battles. The same way with like video games too.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Of like if people like hound me, like you got to watch this, you got to watch this, you got to watch this. Like I'll watch it. Like just recently, I just finished season 2 of The Bear, which is absolutely incredible. But yeah, if TV's not your thing, TV's not your thing. Movies are your thing, and that's just fine. So
yeah, it's just I come to the conclusion. I did like a thing where I'm like, you know what? I could probably only watch about the equivalent of 3 to 5 movies a week. That's like the time frame I sort of kind of have, and that includes a movie in the theater, So it's like by that point, it's like that's it. You know what I mean? If I have to watch a TV show, that's going to eat up all that time that I can be watching movies.
Yeah.
How am I going to get through my Alfred Hitchcock box set if I keep watching TV?
Right. I feel that sentiment just because at the beginning of this year, I made a goal for myself to watch at least 1 movie a day. And I burn out on honestly like in March, to be honest, because like 1 movie a day, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is kind of a lot, to be honest.
1 movie a day, that was like my life from like a wee child to like, maybe like 25 or so. Like I remember I used to be pretty good. I always watched a movie every single day. I remember me and my buddy Cisco, we would always watch a movie every single day. Like every day, we especially when we lived together, like in San Francisco and like, Modesto and whatnot. Like we'd always watch a movie. And I remember my friends like, how do you guys watch so many movies? It's like, oh, I see it. You guys watch a complete movie every single night. I'm like, yeah, that's how we end the day.
Of course.
Of course. What else do you do? You know what I mean? That's what Tom Cruise does.
So, okay. You brought this up. I know we've kind of like, especially like on social media, Tom Cruise is kind of like deemed like the movie guy. He's the cinema guy. But do we actually know like his favorite film? I don't think he's ever actually done like a letterbox for favorites films, or hey, someone's asked him like, what's your favorite film? He's just like, I like going to the movies. I like eating my popcorn. I like having soda. And I'm like, what's your favorite film though?
I feel like, yeah, he definitely does keep that like on the down low. You know what I mean? He's not open on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's open on his Scientology, but not on what his favorite movie is, which is wild to me. It's just wild.
I want your cinematology, not your Scientology. but yeah, it'd be interesting to see there. But
what if it's this movie, North by Northwest?
You never know. Yeah,
he was like, I was that kid.
Yeah,
those 2 guys
in my ears.
Those 2 guys on Old Man Orange, they got it right.
They found the secret there. It's so unlike that, what's one thing that's also kind of cool in this movie though is, especially just something I just love about old cinema, is I just love all the kind of cool like studio made setup, stock sets type stuff. All the artistic designs like that. Mount Rushmore scene at the end, like the fact that they just had a big old like ginormous wall painted with like that so that they can shoot around it. Like I love that look no matter what. It's like something so cool about that with the miniatures mixed in with, painted backgrounds.
Yeah, I thought that was like pretty incredible too, even though it was a little cheesy. Like when people were falling off, you could totally tell like the camera was angled in a certain way to make it seem like they were falling off like Mount Rushmore, because they actually weren't. But I totally agree with you. That's what I love about old cinema too. Just like not just like the sets that they created, or just like the people that worked like on like these elaborate sets and set pieces as well. Like for set pieces, I'm referring to the crop dust scene, which everyone basically like it's on the cover of the movie. Like everyone knows it's coming, and I knew it was coming like when I was watching it, and for a first time watching it, I thought that scene was absolutely incredible. Just like what he's able to do with the camera, and Cary Grant just kind of like ducking and diving out of the way. It's just like it's crazy. Like it really is like a full, like this movie really is like a action blockbuster for its time.
Oh yeah. Especially that scene too. I love the build up to it, because he just gets dropped off because Eve tells him to go to like this, go to Bakersfield out in the middle of like nowhere at this time period and whatnot. And he's just dropped off there, and he just all he knows he has to meet somebody and stuff. And he's standing around 4 corners, bunch of dead, dusty fields and whatnot. You see the plane off in the distance right at the beginning. He doesn't make any notice of it at first, And then there's that one guy who gets dropped off. He's like, "Hey, are you?" I can't remember who he was saying he was looking for, but you the guy I'm looking for and stuff like. He's like, "Oh, me? No, I'm waiting for the bus." You like that guy's almost like very like unsocial. Like is this guy just being an ass, or is like it's just this like
he's really just waiting for the bus.
Yeah, he's really just waiting for the bus. Oh, that's what he's doing here. He's like, oh, there's the bus. Yeah. See you later, there, sir. I'm gonna go work the
I like how he just
field.
I like how he just gets on the bus, arrives. He's like, "Oh, it's actually on time," and he just gets on the bus, and Cary Grant is just like, "Huh, I guess that wasn't the guy."
I guess it was. Like, I thought he was just dicking with me the whole time, but
Yeah.
no, he's not. And then like the plane comes flying by, or something like that. It's just like this like low fly, and it is kind of cool, like the combination of scenes where they film like the plane, and then they have like the on set kind of like Cary Grant dive downs and whatnot. And there's like a little bit of a, I think it's a front projection. I don't think it's even a rear projection for that scene. That's why it looks a little bit more crisper. But yeah, you got that kind of there. And then that plane guy keeps coming at him and so on like that. Does a little bit of crop dusting on him when he runs into that field, which they said they had to plant that whole cornfield in there. Like, geez, that sounds like... So sometimes when you see that kind of stuff, like that amount of extra work, like you think you just make up something else. Like, okay, well, what else could he run into? You know what I mean? Like,
right. Didn't they actually make like a joke where when he was with the guy, where they see like the plane like off in the distance, and are like, why are they crop dusting with no crops out there? So I wonder if that was a joke where it's just like, yeah, maybe that's how they get tipped off, because it's like, what are they doing flying so low?
Yeah, exactly. And then I feel kind of bad because it's like once like Cary Grant comes back, he sees that semi truck and all like, oh god, he's like waving him down and everything like that, and then that truck's like, someone's like, what the hell is that? And then also that plane just comes flying in and crashes into it. Like, if that was a movie nowadays, or especially like in the 80s, those guys would have been all dead in that truck.
Yeah.
They get out of it somehow in here, but like, you know what I mean? That would have been like that one where like nobody would have questioned, just would have been a giant explosion. Everybody dies, just totally sacrificed.
Sacrificed all for this Russian spy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's just an incredible sequence as well. I don't know. Maybe this is just like me, a 34-year-old man with like a 12-year-old mind when I was thinking this, just because I was like, everyone refers to this as the crop dusting scene, and I was just like, did Alfred Hitchcock just really want to make a movie about farts? And the studio said no, and this is what we came up with. He came up with.
Yeah. Here's the crop dusting scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess they just want like a plane to fly down and get like that catch-22 thing where like, let's see how low we can get this plane. Who knows before that?
Yeah. That was just a really bad joke about the crop dusting farts. But
it'd be funny if Alfred Hitchcock just did that, like, oh, here comes Alfred again. He's doing his crop dusting again. He thinks it's hilarious. Nobody else does.
Yeah.
Comes in with a big old cheese burrito. We all know what's coming 2 hours from now.
Cary Grant just walks on scene with a bean burrito. Just randomly, just like, it's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Alfred Hitchcock told me to have this on set. So
yeah.
He said, just get into a shot. Just get in a shot. I don't care.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, no, that scene's like that one. It's like one of those ones that you always see like on those highlight trailers of like, like when a studio puts all their stuff together. That plane scene is always on, like especially if it's an MGM one or something like that.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I think back in the day, the Mount Rushmore one, but like I felt like that Mount Rushmore one sort of fell off. You you don't see that nearly as much. Like this doesn't appear on the movie cover anymore or any of that kind of stuff. They just kind of focus on the plane part. I guess because the Mount Rushmore thing kind of gives away a little bit much. I think it's best to kind of hold that one and don't show anything of it. Yeah,
well, the letterbox poster that they use, it's Mount Rushmore and the crop dusting scene where Cary Grant is running away.
I think that's the old poster.
I think so. Yeah. I'm just looking at what other posters. I don't think I have the ability to change posters again. Oh well, sorry. Side tangent.
But yeah, no, they have some sweet posters on there and so on. I was kind of flipping through and whatnot. But yeah, at the same time, it's like, we shouldn't don't give away that hanging off the edge scene at the, the end of Mount Rushmore. Like, you should save that. Be like, oh, this is where we are. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And that's like the thing, like with the Alfred Hitchcock like trailer. He reveals most of that movie. He's talking about it. And it's kind of weird because a lot of people now complain about like trailers just revealing too much. Like when literally back in the day they would show like the entire movie like in the theater. Like trailers used to be exclusively to the theater, but he's giving it away. Like it's like maybe he's just trying to say like, I'm giving you clips and it's not going to mean anything unless you see it on the big screen. So, but I don't know.
Which is kind of true. When if you watch it with no knowledge of what's going on, you're just like, there's a bunch of action going on here. There's a plane, explosions, hanging, someone gets shot. You know, it's like that. That's how that trailer kind of rolls. You know, it's mostly all the problems that people complain about movies nowadays. It's kind of funny when you go back in time. You're like, well, they've been doing this forever. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing when people talk about like they're just remaking everything. I'm like, dude, they've always done that. They did that since like 1910. They were just continuously remaking everything.
Yeah, because you want to know what Hollywood does? They do what makes money. So
I guess the only difference is back in the day is like the technology was really changing like every decade. So it was like, well, geez, now we have this silent movie. You know, I mean, we made this here, and now we have cameras that are locked to a frame rate. You know, next thing you know, we got Technicolor. There's sound. So it gave more of a reason to why you wanted to remake stuff. I mean, I guess you could say, once the 90s came, you had CG, and that was the next reason why people wanted to remake some things, because, well, now we can use CG instead of, using all the cool old stuff like painted mats, and miniatures and sets and, in-studio locations, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Has this movie been released like in theaters since then, or?
I've never ran across this one, but I wouldn't be surprised. This is one I could see. I'm actually kind of surprised that I don't run across as much Alfred Hitchcock ones, because I've watched some other ones. I remember like when it was like me and Dunnigan and Laura went to go see Sabrina 1956 with like Humphrey Bogart, and I remember that was when we go to like I think it was at like Riverbank or something like that, but there's nobody in there like at all, and we're watching this old black and white movie, which it's a great one. There, if you've never seen it, with Audrey Hepburn in it and so on. But when we left the theater, there was like this like group of teenagers coming into whatever the heck the next movie was showing there. It probably just looked like we stepped like through time, because these kids come into like probably their new whatever year it was, 2000 18 or whatever the heck, and there's this like old timey credits going down, black and white. They're like, what the hell just happened? Where were you guys at?
You should have just played it off and just be like, we came from the 1950s and
yeah,
we're here to warn you. Or wait, you wouldn't warn them, but we're here to experience life the way it's. And just ask them a bunch of questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Young whippersnapper. Young
whippersnapper's going to see your Paranormal Activity 6.
Your young whippersnappers going to see Divergent 45.
Like that's past the point where they even had books of this.
Divergent fans are gonna hate this podcast, because
I'm pretty sure the real hardcore Divergent fans aren't going like, you know what, I gotta hear about this North by Northwest
on Old Man Orange.
On the Old Man Orange, we'll talk about old timey films like North by Northwest, the old Alfred Hitchcock. They're probably like, who the hell is Alfred Hitchcock? Who the hell is Alfred Hitchcock? What are you, crazy? You don't know who he is?
What is that, a slur? Hitchcock?
Yeah. You can't say that anymore, man. That's it'd be like one of those ones. It'd be like on that Family Guy joke where like where they have to like start censoring. It's like a really old episode, but like they start censoring all the TV, and it's like the Dick Van Dyke Show. And it's like Dick Dyke's all crossed out.
I don't like Family Guy much anymore, but that's a pretty funny bit.
The original like handful of seasons are still pretty classic. Like in a sense, like that first run before it was the first time it was canceled. Like I feel like that's all golden stuff. Like
I think I remember this first couple of seasons, and then when American Dad came out, I was more American Dad, just because that's the better of the for that animation style, but.
Oh yeah. No, I did like that one when that came out too. But but yeah, one of those
mainly for Roger. That's it. Oh, yeah. So Roger's he's unhinged.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like one of those ones. Those kids seeing us come out of that theater. That'd probably be like if we went to go see the North by Northwest. But I would actually enjoy seeing this one in theaters. You know what's a great way though to watch a lot of movies at home in theaters style? I guess that makes it weird. Is like using like have you ever used the MetaQuest or anything like that to watch movies?
Oh yeah, back when I had like I got rid of it, but using the big screen app.
Yeah, you use that one, or there's a handful of them now that you can kind of use. Like, and I have it with my Quest. Like, it's modified to do it, but like I can literally plug in any HDMI port to it, so I can use any of my Blu-rays if I want, my 4Ks, you know, DVDs and whatnot. I can even plug an N64 into it and have N64 on a big screen inside my. It's pretty sweet once I kind of got that going and so on. But that's one of those like. It's like a very untapped thing that like, nobody ever brings up. Because I remember like when I was first thinking about getting a Quest, that was the first thing I would tell people. Be like, "Do you ever watch movies in this?" For like the people that had it, and they'd be like, "No, I never thought about that." I'm like, "What do you mean never thought about?" That was like the first thing I thought about with this thing. Was like, "Dude, that's gonna be amazing to watch movies in more than anything else." And plus, you can do that thing that I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. Is like, you always be like. Imagine being able to lay down on your back and just look straight up at the screen. Like, it just sounds like the most laziest thing ever, but like, you don't even have to even prop yourself up on pillows. You can just lay back and look at the ceiling. Like, that would be amazing. This gives you literally that option.
Whenever you say, like, I remember liking like that feature like a lot like, when I had a Quest. I think I had the original Quest, not the Quest 2, but it always just gave me like horrible like flashbacks or just like where our future is going because I started thinking of Wall-E. I'm just like, oh god, they strapping this thing to our face, and now we're gonna have like poor robots like dig up our trash, get rid of our trash. And I'm just like, yeah,
it's coming no matter what. Well, it's like in one of those apps too. You can even do that thing too that sounds like the most like. It's weird. It's social yet sounds like the most unsocial thing too. But you can have like it's like well, you and all your friends can get together in the cinema and you can look at each other in their avatar forms as you're watching the movie on the big screen.
Those really bad Mark Zuckerberg avatars with no hands or feet.
yeah, not those ones. I think that like because everybody sort of has their own. That's the thing about like on the Quest is it feels like it's like. It's a very Wild West thing. Everybody's got their own way of going about it in there and so on like that. But no, I kid you not. Like watching movies in there, it's like that would have been actually kind of fun on North by Northwest. Is just putting that on there and just like it is kind of cool because you're like, oh, it's for any of those movies that like one either they just don't appear in cinemas, at least not close. Like North by Northwest, I feel if you looked hard enough, it would probably pop up somewhere in California, you know, in the next couple of years or so. But
no, well, now that we're talking about it a little bit, is that I think. Have you been to the Crest Theater here in Sacramento?
Yes, I love that one.
Yeah, I think they played it. I think last year, North by Northwest, or they're playing it later this year. But yeah, that's a great like old independent theater where they would totally play like a movie like North by Northwest. So maybe I should ask them. You should play it.
You can request it, like one of those ones like that. You're like, yeah, you know what? We played it last time and nobody showed up. It was like that Sabrina showing.
Well, if we play it now, 3 people will show up, and then your next screening will be like Garfield or something like that. Some modern.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
then a bunch of kids will see us come out of like that theater, and it'll just be like, "Where did you? What have you been watching? This old timey music."
Yeah, exactly. One of those things there, you know. It even says weird. Probably you wouldn't see it as much at like the New Beverly because I know Tarantino doesn't care as much for Alfred Hitchcock, but sometimes a lot of stuff that pops up down there that's you know kind of you know they'll have the rare eclectic stuff, but then I notice they'll have kind of big old timey movies sort of in this kind of vein too. You'll see there, you know, I saw like Magnificent Seven was down there once, the original one.
Oh, that's cool.
There's so many times I'm down there. It's like, oh, I just always want to go down, you know, and go to some of them. And either the day's just slightly off from when I'm there, or it'll have some weird, goofy like. Does it have to be like a midnight showing? I hate to sort of say it, but this day and age, it's like those are the tough ones anymore.
Yeah, for me, lately, if I go to the movie theater, it's like 9 a.m. screening.
That's
like 9 a.m.
Oh gosh,
literally the best, the best showtime. Or like right after lunch, kind of like 1 o'clock, like right in there. Or like if it's premiering, usually Thursday at 4 p.m. Thursday at 3 or 4 p.m.
That's mostly for me is like Thursdays, give or take. The show times are never always the same. It's between 4 to 7, whatever it happens to be, you know.
Because the last midnight, I'm trying to think, the last midnight screening I actually went to, oh man, what was it? Was it a Batman movie?
Well, Batman was one of the last ones because, like, I noticed that, like, this probably wasn't the first one, but I remember, like, The Last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I want to say it was one of the first movies where they were like, oh, we're going to just premiere this movie at, like, 8 o'clock or something like that. And it was like, 8 o'clock. Oh, that's not midnight. Like, and then from there, the time kind of kept creeping back to, like, 6 is about give or take the norm. And then every once in a while, there'll be some movies like, noon, whatever.
Well, the last one I went to, I think I was, like, age 28 or 27, and I was just like, I got out at like 3 a.m, and I was just like, this is not feasible. I can't do this no more.
Yeah,
why would you do this to yourself?
Yeah, you get out. I remember one of the last few ones was Indiana Jones 4. I remember that one just getting like hyped because you would just be standing in like the long line and whatnot, and you're like drinking an energy drink and pounding it, you know. And I remember just standing there. I had like my Indiana Jones hat on, and Ryan was getting all pumped up. He's like, "Dude, maybe I should just go run the Blockbuster. I think they got an Indiana Jones hat there. Maybe I need one too." You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You know what I mean? And then like we're just getting so jacked and everything like that. I remember getting in line, get the tickets, you walk over, and this person's like, hey, we got trading cards here. And I was like, trading cards? What? And again, the dude jumped back and everything. I'm like, sweet, these things are free. He's like, no, they're $5. Like, fuck that then.
See, and that's also the thing. Like, theaters don't, like, there's no, like, well, I don't know. There is no real, like, a hype around movies anymore. Like, I guess the closest thing to hype for movies now is like a popcorn bucket, which is kind of lame. Now that I'm saying it out loud.
I am kind of glad they at least sort of brought that back though, because I love movie tie-ins, especially the old fast food tie-ins that they used to have.
Yeah.
Now those popcorn buckets and like big cups. I bought a Mad Max one or whatever, like recently for Furiosa. I'm just glad to see that they're kind of there, you know, just because at least it kind of gives they're not as good as like the old days ones were, but like they're still close, and the fact that they are doing that. But I think what it is really at the end of the day is, I hate to start saying it, man, movies is now a niche audience. Like, it's not like an everybody person. Like, the people that are really into cinema are the people that show up to the movie theaters, you know, and there's just, you know, that's probably like less than 10% of like the average people, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
it's real sad.
Sort of like, yeah, it's the hardcore audience, you know, that likes all this cool stuff. You know, this is the hardcore audience that would go see a North by Northwest in theaters still, you know, because everybody else who's like, kind of, I hate to sort of say, but like the regular Joe people, even if they do sort of like movies, but they're just kind of casual about it. They're not going to like, they don't go like, hey, it's Thursday. I'm sorry, I can't do anything at nighttime, because you know what it is? It's new movie night.
Right.
They're not those people that use those words when it is that, but they just watch it on TV, and they're like, you know what? They're just gonna put it up in a month anyways, you know. Why do I have to go spend. You know?
It's so sad, but I don't know. It's it kind of going on like the popcorn bucket thing. Like if North by Northwest did have one, what do you think it would have?
Oh, dude, I bet you'd have a sick popcorn bucket. You know what I mean? You could almost have like that kind of scene where Eve is shooting like Cary Grant, and then maybe the plane's flying around on one side, and on the other side you got the train going there, and then you kind of got them kind of like a romantic picture and so on like that, hanging off like the edge of the popcorn bucket, sort of like it's like Mount Everest, not Mount Everest. Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
One of those Mount. Yeah, there we go. That's North by Northwest too.
I think it would be Teddy Roosevelt's head, and like if you look closely, it would be like Cary Grant and Eve hanging off like his eyebrow or something like that. It would just be a gigantic Teddy Roosevelt head, just because I like that line like in the movie where Cary Grant is like looking out at Mount Rushmore, and he's like, why is Teddy looking at me in such a weird way? It's like he knows something. He knows something is going to be up, and then he gets shot in the next scene. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, there's one promo poster, or it might have been in a newspaper ad that I liked for the movie, where it showed the Mount Rushmore thing, and then it put a fifth head of Alfred Hitchcock on there.
Oh man!
I just thought, see, that's the thing is Alfred. See, that's the thing is like this movie actually had tie-ins. In the special features, it kind of mentioned that there was some things like one of the car. You could get like one of the cars that was in the movie. There, you could actually go to the dealership and get the North by Northwest version of it. And so
that's
on
cool.
like that. I thought that was kind of neat. There was a couple other ones they kind of mentioned. So I feel this movie would 100% use, especially if this was a 90s movie. Just imagine it had like a Burger King tie in there. You know what I mean? You could get probably some cool collector's watch of North by Northwest.
Yeah, maybe
Happy
not.
Meal toys.
Maybe not like have like a fuckable popcorn bucket like Deadpool and Wolverine, whatever it's going on with that one.
You just have the train like at the end of the movie where it's going into like the tunnel. That's how this, because the movie has like the most like innuendo ending at the very end. It's just like, should we just do what we did last time? You know what I mean? I'm kind of nostalgic for this bed, and then it just cuts to the train going
into
the tunnel. The end.
They boned. The end.
Yeah. Cut the credits. Get the hell out of the cinema. Movie's done. Classic ending. You know.
Yeah. Like Cary Grant got everything in that, like in this movie, literally everything.
Yeah, dude, he was just a champ. Like it just all worked out. You know what I mean? Even when he thought the lady was already just like, standing him up and whatnot like that. No, she comes back around, and it all works out.
He's just like, maybe I shouldn't have gone into advertising. Maybe I should have been like doing this spy shit like all this time.
Exactly. Just you're gonna have a way more exciting life. You know what's the weird thing is like his mom that's in the movie, like the beginning part, she like just stops appearing about like not even like less than halfway into the movie. Just she never comes back into the movie.
Yeah, it's. I wonder if she just was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
they only paid her for like the first act.
He's an idiot. He makes up lies. You know what I mean? He goes on benders with his buddies to the martini bar. You know. I love that line that like Cary Grant also has too, where he's like, there's 3 bartenders that are counting on me to pay for their wages.
Oh, it's just, you know what? I haven't bartended, but I've known a few bartenders in my life, and they do rely on the drunks to just pay their rent most of the time.
Well, and I always feel like in the 50s, because this is like the time period where all these actors, like none of them last like longer than like age 50 or 60 or something like that. It seems like, But I think that's the thing. Is just like that's what you did. You just you had a couple martinis at lunch, had a couple martinis after work, a couple martinis at night. You know what I mean? That was just how it was.
That was before just any health. Like any before we started worrying about our health or anything like that. That's just like, you know what? You only live once.
That's what the liver's for. It takes care of the martinis for you. You just got to build up your tolerance.
For now.
Yeah.
It takes care of for now.
Wait.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that's always like the actresses live for like ever from like this era. I don't know, like none of them like, you know what I mean? It's like okay, I was just thinking about like with Errol Flynn, and because I did a podcast about Captain Blood recently, and it was like, okay, Errol Flynn dies at like age 50. Well, Olivia de Havilland, who's like the co-star in a bunch of those movies, she died in 2020. She was 104 years old.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's just like one of those.
The alcohol just cleans her out.
Yeah.
There's like bacteria.
I always kind of wonder, like, I'm like, maybe the ladies just didn't, drink alcohol like it was going out of style, like all the men did, and smoke cigarettes, and like I felt like they just probably didn't partake as heavily or at all in that kind of stuff, while the men were just smoking like, it's like the 007 book, like in the very first one in Casino Royale, coming back to that even. It mentions that Bond smokes 70 cigarettes a day, and that's what Ian Fleming actually smoked.
I can't even think about smoking 70. Like that seems.
I think that's 3.5
way
packs.
too much. That's way too much.
Yeah,
I smoked for maybe like a month in college, and I was just like, how do you do this?
Did you feel cool when you did it? Did you feel anything? No. Because I always feel like that. You watch it like in a movie. Like I will say, like in a movie, smoking looks cool. Like smoking is one of those things that like it looks good on cinema in a weird way, you know. But like I feel like in real life, I'm like it just like does not translate the same way. It's like
No, it doesn't. It's just I think it's just the smoke looks cool, like on film or like on camera. But other than that, it's just like, or even like the way they hold it too. Like sometimes they hold it like with two fingers or like fingers. It's just, I don't know. Yeah.
You didn't feel like Leonardo DiCaprio at all, like.
No, far from it actually. So.
Yeah, it's like one of those ones. You know.
Do you think they should remake like this movie? Because since you brought up Leo DiCaprio, it seems like this would be a movie that he would remake. Like he would play Richard, like in this movie.
You know, and I'll say this: I don't. You know, by this point, remakes always seem weird to me when a movie's not that old. Like when it's like in about like the give or take 20-year mark or less. But this movie's old enough that I see nothing wrong with it. Because here's the thing. A remake will never affect the original one, especially when it's this old. You know what I mean? And the upside to remaking it, especially if you did it with like the right cast, like somebody like Leo, that actually would be kind of cool, is that what it does is it brings attention back to the movie. So I think it's like, it's not a bad thing when a movie gets kind of old to remake it. So I think this would be a proper candidate for it. It's kind of weird because like other than Psycho, like, you know, in Psycho's, you know, handful of sequels, there's not really like tons of other like Alfred Hitchcock like straight up remakes. Well, there's some of them. There's like what's that one with it's the Rear Window? Like it's not really called Rear Window, but it's
Disturbia.
Yes, that one. That's kind of like a Rear Window remake.
It's like a reimagining. I wouldn't like. It's the only thing close enough to Rear Window to that is like the guy's on house arrest in that movie and he's looking outside his window, and that's pretty much like the only thing that's close enough to Rear Window. But
well, there's definitely a lot of those Alfred Hitchcock homages, especially like in Simpsons and so on, like that you get, you know, and of course a lot of Mel Brooks movies too, but I think something like North by Northwest would be a perfect candidate for like a real, like, you know, get a high-end director of nowadays, you know, somebody like a Leo, I think would be a good choice. I mean, there's all kinds of guys you could grab, but like one of those ones where someone could just really chew scenery, you know what I mean, just hide some like prestige acting and so on. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it would be definitely cool. And also just because like we talked about how we like seeing trains like in cinema, like. Trains are blowing up this year in 2024. They're like, you had Bullet Train like so far, then you've had Snowpiercer, not in 2024, but just recently. I feel like you could, like, this movie, like you said, is old enough for it to be remade, and just stuff that happens in it, you can update it to make it look even cooler. So
well, you could update it and it wouldn't really take away. You know, it's one of these. This is one of those movies that could literally be. You could be put in modern times, but you wouldn't really lose anything at the same time.
Yeah,
you could still have all the core like scenes. You would just have a plane, but you could change it to whatever kind of plane you want now. You know, it could still be a crop duster, but it could also be something a little bit different. You know, it's the same thing. Mount Rushmore hasn't gone away. You know, I mean, you can still have that scene.
That we know of.
yeah, we know of. Yeah. Well, you know, that's also the hidden base of Team America. You know, that's.
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage also found like treasure, like underneath her. Right. Yeah,
you know, that's important. So there is a lot of that stuff that you could, and then you could just probably add in just maybe a slight bit more action in it, just, you know, give it a little bit more of like a modern 007 vibe, like No Reason Why, you know. But yeah, I think it totally could. You know, you could give whatever country you want those you know, Russians to be, and if they want to be actually Russian or if you want to be something else, but they'd have their accents.
Yeah,
you would know who they were.
You can actually cast Russian actors too. So
yeah,
instead of just like pretending like Americans are Russian, like but
yeah, I was that, or, you know, grab British people and so on like that. Well, I think back in those days too, it's not like. To be honest, there probably wasn't like a ton of like just like people you could just go grab Russian wise or something like that, or, you know. Just around the U.S. It depends what part of the U.S. I guess you're in, but, you know, one of those things. And we're not on the friendliest terms if you wanted to import anybody at that time period.
Yeah. I'm looking at just looking at my notes just from this movie. So when he gets arrested, like for driving under the influence, kind of going a little bit back, didn't like the cops like say like you have a $2 fine for driving under the influence?
Yeah,
At that point, I would just pay the fine, like instead of getting chased throughout the entire movie. And obviously, that would make the movie less interesting. But just pay the fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the guys would still be hunting him down, so there'd be that. But yeah, granted, like I was trying to think of like, like $2 back in 1959, like that definitely probably be, I don't know, a lot more now.
$50. $50
yeah, it still felt kind of. It didn't feel like a whole lot for obviously back then though, that's the time period where it's like, boys, you've been drinking. Well, pour out those beers and drive on back home, you little shenanigans. Yeah, like they didn't treat DUIs as seriously back then. It was just kind of more like, he's just he was a little out of control tonight. That's all.
Yeah. Just had too much of a good time with the buddies. Too much of a good time with the buddies.
Yeah, because I'd be like, literally, imagine trying to drive home with a whole thing of bourbon and then trying to explain that to the cops today.
Yeah, I don't. Well, depending on who you are,
especially when you're going like, hey, I was just about to be killed at this house, and like, let me tell you all about it. I was set up, yeah.
Yeah. Well, depending on who you are and who you look like, you might not, and this scenario might be different for you. But yeah, our times are really weird right now. So.
And I feel like nowadays too, people probably don't have that tolerance to just handle. See, I feel like Cary Grant's character, because he's already drinking martinis every day. A whole bottle of bourbon probably it makes you drunk. But that would almost probably kill somebody nowadays if their tolerance level.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know our limits these days. So
no, and I just don't think people are drinking that heavy of stuff. Or at least not most people. But yeah, no, I think that is kind of funny there. Like that would have kind of cut it right there. But no, you gotta keep going on. Or it's even like that part where the one guy gets stabbed in the back and whatnot. It's like, and Cary Grant's got this hand on the knife. Like, what are you doing holding on to that knife? That only makes you really look like you did it.
Did they have forensics back then in the late 1950s?
To take fingerprints and so on like that?
Yeah. When did forensics get invented? Let me just Google that real quick. Forensics.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I know there's some kind of stuff you'll see in those 1930s and 40s, like noir, gumshoe type stuff, but probably nothing. Yeah, because I almost want to say that a lot of those fingerprint things and so on like that kind of started to really get used from the 70s on up.
Yeah, I'm not actually seeing anything right now. Shoot. It's fine. We can move on.
Yeah. So it's one of those ones. But there sure was not a lot of eyewitnesses of you holding that knife. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the main thing. But yeah,
that's such a clever scene too. I like the way when just the way sound is used, like when that person gets stabbed, and then the camera kind of whip pans to his back, and you're like I almost jumped a little bit. It was a little bit much of a jump scare, just because it's like, oh shit, we're because up until that moment, nothing really stuff extraordinary has happened to him, but no one's really gotten hurt or anything like that. Not that we know of, and that was kind of the first casualty that you witnessed. And I'm just like, oh shit, he's really in deep now.
Yeah. Because the drunk driving was just more of a light offense.
Yeah, just so late for the 50s, late 1950s. It was
late 1950s. So. It wasn't that big of a. It was you shouldn't be doing it, but it wasn't the worst thing. Yeah, it wasn't gonna affect your driving record.
Yeah. Oh, you're driving drunk. Yeah, just get back on the road.
One night in jail just to get sobered up. That was about it. So.
Yeah, get in the drunk tank. Get in the drunk tank for one night.
Yeah, exactly. But that's it. But yeah, gosh. Overall, I think a fantastic movie. I'm so glad we kind of sat down and watched through this. I had just a good time all around. I think there's just so much kind of stuff going on here. Not only is it a great action movie, it's filled with twists. It's a great thriller, and then it's just sprinkled in with comedy. That it's really good comedy too. There's just a lot going on here. As we were saying before, I think it would be a perfect candidate to become a remake at some point. Hopefully with just really solid actors. I think, and just get a real classy director to give it the old college try and whatnot. But you got any final thoughts on North by Northwest?
No, I really enjoyed talking about this film with you, Spencer, and I enjoyed the film like in general as well. I think that, like, as I was saying, like, a Hitchcock movie when you see it, a Steven Spielberg movie when you see it, and this movie has kind of like that flavor, but also kind of like Hitchcock kind of like going outside of his comfort zones a little bit, and I like that, like when you see that in filmmakers and their films as well. But I really enjoyed it. Like everything you just said there, I thought it was really funny. I thought like the kind of like the Bond influences, like you said, how later Bond, like you said, Dr. No was influenced by.
That was the style that they were sort of pulling from. Is they're like, let's do the North by Northwest thing when we're doing this.
Yeah, and like I would like to be Hitchcock in that scenario, just because it's like he was wanted to make like a Bond movie for like the longest time, and then they're influenced by him, so that's actually kind of cool. Yeah, really great film. I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd, and yeah, everyone should go check it out.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like you have to go to Tubi if you want to go there, or you have to buy. You know what? Here's the thing: that Amazon Prime Day is coming up, so I bet you anything. I see that Blu-ray set all the time on there.
Not trying to give like Bezos a little bit more money, but I believe this is on Criterion Collection, and all this month, or from June 28th all the way till July 28th, they're doing a 50% off Criterion sale. Like, I'm not sure if you're participating in that.
For the streaming version of Criterion, or for like the
Blu-rays.
Ooh,
yeah,
I did not know about that. I will have to take a look for there.
Whenever there's a 50% off sale, I always have to clean up and get like all the.
That's always what happens to your life. Just when you get to the point where you're like, you know what, for the moment I gotta save a little bit of money, and then there's like Marley comes out like 50% off on Criterion, like out the window. Who cares? We're getting some new Blu-rays. Like, yeah, we'll figure it out in the long run.
You got a whole month. So
yeah, well, I'm gonna definitely, once we're done with the podcast here, I'm definitely gonna have to pull that list up and see what I might need in my Criterion collection, because there's always something good there.
And the listeners too. They should do that when they're listening.
Criterion Collection. It's amazing. They've pretty much done the super special edition versions of movies since the 80s, literally like on VHS and Laserdisc. Like, so like they've been dialed in forever.
They are one of the last true. I hate to say this, the last true physical media like supporters, because it breaks my heart. Like in 2024, like all these. Like Amazon like has them, but I hate buying from Amazon. Walmart just got rid of like most of their Blu-rays.
Yeah, that and Target. Target also, like I was in a Target and it was like they had one sliver and it was on the back side where like you had to like walk around. Like it's sad that we're at that point. The upside is that we do have cool companies like Criterion. There's Anchor. There's Arrow. There's a few like Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah, Vinegar Syndrome. Yeah,
that one's a cool one. There's the one that what the hell? There's the one in Australia that I bought Mario Brothers $100 super set.
Oh jeez.
The 19. I'm like, I love Mario Brothers that much. I'm like, I want that box set. It's got the Blu-ray, the 4K. It came with a booklet, the script. Yeah, it had like it was actually really awesome. Can't remember what that company's called right off the top of my head, but
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's not. The only downfall is you have to. If you live in America, you pretty much have to spend $150 when you go to that site, because the shipping is ridiculous, and that's the only way to get free shipping is to spend $150.
Because it's coming from Australia, and they have to ship it like through
it was like
4 different territories.
The Mario one, and I was like, okay, cool. And then it was like, $35 shipping. I was like, I will find something else on here to get it. And I will get that free shipping. Believe me, if I'm going to spend $35 or $40, whatever it is, I'll just get another Blu-ray.
Right. Gotta love that capitalism. Like,
Gosh,
you got to get
yes,
free
yeah.
shipping, that 2-day free shipping from Amazon.
Yeah.
Add $2 more so you can get 2-day
Yeah.
free shipping. But Amazon will probably be like 2-day free shipping, but we lost your package, so it's
That's okay.
gonna be like a week.
I'm an Amazon Gold member, so they treat me in a little bit higher class.
See, yeah, I thought I was an Amazon Gold member, and then the last 3 packages that I got from Amazon, and they went to an Amazon locker. I'm not sure if you have those yet, or if you've used those.
I thought about it, but I haven't yet. I just use my PO box still.
And they lost my package going to an Amazon locker. I'm like, it's literally your locker. How do you lose it within there? I'm like, I don't know.
They got scared, but yeah, Criterion Collection. Check that out. If not, you do have the. As I said, that Amazon Prime Day thing will probably have that Alfred Hitchcock box. I see it on there all the time. That's why I finally got it that one time. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting it. $50 for this many Alfred Hitchcock movies. Like, why the hell not?
I think I might just pick that up too. So
yeah,
I got you for Criterion.
Yeah, it's a cool set. You get a bunch of movies in there. You got more movies than you probably will be able to get around to finishing all. But yeah, tons of stuff, great special features. But check out North by Northwest. I think it was awesome. I think this is a good way to go about the Old Man Orange vintage cinema review. But beyond all that good stuff, Marley, where can everybody find you and all your good products, podcasts, and so on?
People could follow me pretty much everywhere on social media with the username @MarleyLovesFilm. I love talking about film pretty much all the time, so this is a pleasure. So thank you, Spencer, for having me on Old Man Orange again. And then I also have a podcast called the Real Livers Podcast, where we're going through all of the movies in the Letterboxd Top 250. We're currently about 25 movies into that list, so we got a long ways to go. But
I was just gonna ask, like, how far along have you gotten that? I know that, like,
but yeah, if you want to follow,
the list is probably gonna change by the time you get halfway into it.
Well, I'm adding movies to the list and stuff like that, and still covering movies that come off the list. But if people wanna follow my journey on that Letterboxd journey, you can just subscribe to the Real Livers Podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. But yeah, thank you, Spence.
Well, if you got 250 episodes to go through and you ever need a little bit of a hand there, well, you know who to give a holler.
When we get to any Batman or Hitchcock, I think this movie's actually on there.
It probably is. I would be surprised if this one wasn't on the 250, but you know, you could be real lazy and you just cut out the Old Man Orange part and just slap the Real Lovers on there and then shamefully dub it in every single time we say Old Man Orange on here and not have to record it again.
It's just like Real Lovers. Just, you know, like that TikTok AI voice. It would just be
yes. I don't know why that voice has always annoys me so much. It's just like, well, you can't record your own voiceover.
They're just trying to get like max efficiency. Just it
really is. Yeah.
Pump out those videos, pump them out. So,
but yeah, well, beyond all that, you can always go to oldmanorange.com. That's where you'll find more podcasts, all the old classic ones. You can find things like Pizza Boys, my comic book series, up on there, and I also got a new workout book that's up on Amazon Kindle at the moment, called Pull-Ups for Life, but make sure you type in book afterwards or else you're going to get those pull-up diapers because, boy, do they have that advertising down hard. But that's up there on Kindle right now. At some point, I'll do a physical version of it, but that's another process in itself. You know, all that old good fun stuff, awesome things there. And then, till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Marley Silverbrand.
And we'll see you some other time.
Peace out.